Congressman Jody Hice joins me. How are you?
I'm doing great, Eric. Good to be with you. Hope you're doing great today.
I am. Now I'm going to ambush you with this news that the U.S. Army says it's going to discharge any soldier who hasn't been vaccinated for COVID-19. I guess the Navy and the Marines have already done this, and I know you and I we share a like opinion on this ridiculousness, but figured I better let you comment on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolute ridiculousness. I had a meeting, in fact, this morning, and this was one of the questions that I brought up. What in the world are we doing? People need to realize, Eric, that these type of mandates within our military, within any segment of our society, is unconstitutional. But when it comes to our military, not only is it unconstitutional, but it has a major impact on our national security and our readiness to defend our country and our military efforts. We are going to have a significant number, some are saying as many as 20% of our military have to step out if these mandates were enforced. And when you're talking 20% of our military, these are men and women who have been well trained, they know what they're doing, they are ready right now to defend America's interest. And if we are going to force them out of the military, it majorly puts us in a handicapped position, and it just makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah, I just, particularly right now when we have so many national security issues on the horizon, dealing with China, dealing with North Korea, dealing with Russia, dealing with Iran, dealing with all the instability in the Middle East. And this is what the American government is dealing with, is firing soldiers for not getting a vaccine as opposed to actually trying to get the remaining Americans stuck in Afghanistan out of there. None of this seems right. And that raises the issue here on Afghanistan and we've still got Americans stuck over there, and they've been there since August and can't get home.
We still have Americans in Afghanistan. In fact, my office alone, Eric, there's probably a couple of hundred that we are still, to this day, working, trying to get them out of Afghanistan. And unfortunately, the Biden administration, is totally quiet about that. They have moved on to yet another crisis of their own invention and are trying to leave behind Afghanistan and a trail of other crises that they're putting our nation through. All the while, American citizens are in Afghanistan stuck, trapped, many of them fearing for their own lives on a daily basis while this administration stays here going on one vacation after another and creating yet one crisis after another here in our own country. It is the most un-American thing I've ever seen in my life. We are watching, Eric, we're literally watching things that none of us ever in our wildest dreams would ever have imagined to become reality in America. And all of it has taken place in just, 12 short months. The speed with which this has happened is just as stunning as the crises created in themselves.
Yeah, well said. And it has happened so fast. Now, something that hasn't. Well, I guess what was it? Was it the Ernest Hemingway line? Very slowly and then suddenly on bankruptcy or some such in one of his books, how something bad happened and slowly and then suddenly we've gotten to $30 trillion in our national debt. I saw our friend Chip Roy go on a tirade about it on Twitter last night. He was texting me at midnight, sending me the links to his tweets, and it really is something, $30 trillion in debt. Isn't that a national security issue?
It is a national security issue, and listen, I'm right there with you. I love any time Chip Roy is on a tirade. It's just like awesome. He is one of the best that we have in Congress. I love Chip, but yeah, when we're talking about this type of unbelievable national debt, it is absolutely a national crisis. And if for no other reason, which there are many more reasons beyond this, but at what point are we no longer able to continue everything from research and development for our military, our strength in that regard, but even paying our military and doing the things that are absolutely required, be it our southern border or elsewhere, like now we're facing in the Ukraine. You simply cannot spend more money that you take in without at some point it coming back to bite you. And we are, I believe, at that point. We have got to stop this crazy spending. Some $7 trillion new spending just in this last year. This is so insanely out of proportion from what we can afford. It really has become a significant national security issue.
Now, I know I can have this conversation with you and you won't take it personally or be insulted by it because we see eye to eye on this, but Republicans, a lot of them helped get us to this point as well. It wasn't just the Democrats. And it seems like when Republicans control everything, they spend just as much and then browbeat people like you who don't want to go along with it. But it looks like with the Republicans probably going to take back Congress this year, knock on wood, maybe they will actually stand up and fight the Biden administration and not be browbeating someone like you for wanting to tackle this issue?
I hope you're exactly right, Eric. And I tell you, I've said it 1,000 times, but there are two different groups in D.C. that are absolutely addicted to spending money, and that is the Democrats and the Republicans. And they both have been guilty so often over the decades. And I am so hopeful that what you say is accurate. You do all you can in talking and screaming and letters and resolutions and whatever can be done to try to bring some economic common sense to this place. And I just get a sense that the Republican conference at this point is fully aware that what has happened this past year economically is unsustainable, that we have to get our financial house in order. And I am hopeful, deeply hopeful, that what you say will be the reality, that when the Republicans take back control, they'll take this issue seriously and deal with it.
I hope so. Now, let me ask you a practical issue here. I know you're on the Committee on Natural Resources, and a federal judge has just stopped the Interior Department from allowing gas and petroleum leases in the Gulf of Mexico because they say the Interior Department did not adequately assess the future climate change impact of giving these leases, and it's just going to drive up oil and gas prices in the country. It continues to me to feel like the Democratic policies on climate change and what they're allowing left-wing judges to get away with. This guy was an Obama-appointed judge. It feels like they're allowing the left to engage in a war against the poor because all of their policy solutions on this, the rich can cover and nobody who's poor can.
Well, that's right, but you go beyond that. I mean, the practical outcome of these type of policies, every one of us feel at the gas pump, just for example, national average was pushing $4 or whatever it is now per gallon. Look, again, a year ago, we were energy independent. We were literally not only independent, but we were selling oil to other places around the world. Today, we are once again dependent upon other countries. Some of those countries, in fact, are our enemies. But here we are in this situation. All the while, Biden has also provided the Nord Stream 2 pipeline for Russia to supply oil to Europe. It's like, what are we thinking here? None of this makes sense. And now you add to it, you're right, the resources that we have in the Gulf of Mexico and other places in this country that have been shut down, restricted from drilling, restricted from finding oil, restricted from processing the oil that we already have. None of this makes sense. Even from a climate change perspective, if a person wants to argue that, we look at what's happening in China. They could care less about climate issues. They are producing everything they need to, strengthening their economy while, again, weakening ours. We've got to understand what's at stake. We are in a global setting, and we must be wise in our economic decisions from all perspectives. Otherwise, we just continue to put ourselves behind the eight ball, and in doing so, we're putting our liberties at risk.
That's so well said. It is. Congressman, listen, it is always, I don't talk to you enough these days between your schedule and mine, but my gosh, I enjoy having you on, and it's always good to talk to you.
Likewise, Eric. Thank you so much. Look forward to being with you in a couple of weeks, by the way.
You too. Take care.